There were three positions on slavery that were contending with each other to determine what to do with the new land gained in the Mexican War. Henry Clay decided to create a compromise to appease all sides.
As a proud Southerner, I think that the government has no constitutional right to abolish slavery. In any state, they should all allow slavery.
As a free soiler, I think that the blacks shouldn't be allowed anywhere in the new territory. That includes slaves.
Look, I believe in popular sovereignty, and I say that the people should vote on whether or not to have slavery in their state.
Gentlemen, I have a solution for you all. We'll make California a free state, prohibit the slave trade in Washington, D.C., of course, allowing pre-existing slaves. We're going to divide the Mexican cession into Utah and New Mexico and allow them to vote for slavery through popular sovereignty, and we'll adopt a new fugitive slave law that will rigorously enforce. Oh, and we'll give New Mexico some of the land Texas wants in exchange for $10 million to help define new boundaries for the territories.
What? As an abolitionist, I can tell you that this compromise is an injustice. You're telling me I'll be forced to catch and return runaway slaves? I won't stand for it.
Pish posh, popular sovereignty in New Mexico? That's south of the Mason-Dixon line. Those abolitionists are trying to abolish slavery in the South. How dare they?
The Compromise of 1850 may have held back the issue of slavery for a time. However, this allowed tensions to build up and created outrage over laws like the Fugitive Slave Act. Including popular sovereignty in law also created conflict over trying to spread slavery north or remove it in the South. Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote her perspective of slavery.
I, Harriet Beecher Stowe, have just wrote my book to help people understand what it is like to be a slave. Hopefully, now people will understand what a tragedy it is and end it once and for all.
After reading Uncle Tom's Cabin, I can't even believe to imagine how hard it is being a slave. We need to abolish slavery and free the slave from those savage Southerners.
Southerners claimed that Uncle Tom's Cabin didn't portray slavery correctly. In response, other books came out with a pro-slavery viewpoint. One such book was Aunt Phyllis's Cabin, written by Mary Eastman.
Uncle Tom's Cabin is a twisted view of slavery. My new book, Aunt Phil's Cabin, will show how slaves are happy and healthy and are meant to be enslaved.
Now this is what I'm talking about. As a proud Southerner, it's about time somebody showed up what it's really like being a slave. It's essential to life. Slavery is just a natural institution. Those Northerners are the real slaves. They have to spend all their lives working for a wage.
Literature like Uncle Tom's Cabin polarized the nation and made the divide in beliefs between the North and South even wider. In 1854, Senator Stephen Douglas of Illinois passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, creating states Kansas and Nebraska, where popular sovereignty would be used. Both states became free.
Us Southerners think it's time enough to spread glorious slavery. Both states coming free is kind of cringe, so we're going to rush into Kansas and legally vote for pro-slavery legislators and form our own government.
This popular sovereignty might allow slavery north of the Mason-Dixon. We can't let that happen. We have to send our own people with the New England Emigrant Aid Company to vote for the anti-slavery movement.
Hey, you can't do that. That's illegal.
You're illegal.
You're illegal. I'm going to use my tattoo whacker. Die! Slavery's pretty cool.
Die!
Oh my god! We're all dying!
Both sides massacred each other, with the pro-slavery forces burning a post office and hotel in Lawrence, and John Brown retaliating with his own killing spree. Kansas eventually became a free state. This was the start of armed conflict between the anti-slavery and pro-slavery sides, a foreshadowing for future battles yet to come, splitting the Democrat Party based on Northern and Southern beliefs. After the Kansas-Nebraska Act was passed, Senator Charles Sumner attacked the institution of slavery and pro-slavery senators in his speech, Crimes Against Kansas. Sumner also alluded to a recent stroke Butler had.
Though Butler may believe himself a chivalrous knight with sentiments of honor and courage, he has taken a mistress, ugly and pollute the harlot, slavery. Butler touches nothing which he does not disfigure with error. He cannot open his mouth, but out there flies a blunder.
I ought to duel that man for his slanderous words.
Duels are only for gentlemen of equal standing, and Sumner is no gentleman.
The next day.
Mr. Summer, I've read your speech twice over carefully. It is a bet on South Carolina and Mr. Butler, who is a relative of mine.
Ow! Oh,
God damn you, let them be, let them alone!
Ow!
Southerners held Brooks and Keyed up as heroes, whereas supporters of anti-slavery saw Sumner as a martyr, and thought that the Southerners could not tolerate free speech, seeing them as roots trying to stifle the anti-slavery movement for violence. Dred Scott was a slave who moved with his owner from Missouri to Wisconsin, transitioning from a slave to a free state. He attempted to sue for wrongful enslavement for his freedom.
I've been living in a free state for 2 years. If slavery isn't allowed in free states, then why am I not free?
I am Chief Justice Roger Brooke Taney, and I want to end the slavery issue once and for all. African Americans can't be U.S. citizens, meaning you shouldn't even be in court right now.
What?
While we're at it, I'm going to say that Congress has no power to regulate slavery, so the Missouri Compromise is invalid. You will never be free.
No!
This decision gives too much power to slave owners. We don't want slaves here. This case will destroy the Union.
The Dred Scott case and decision removed years of compromise that helped upkeep the balance between pro-slavery and anti-slavery states. John Brown and other abolitionists worked to start an uprising of slaves for their freedom. Their first stop was Harper's Ferry, an armory that was the gateway to the South in Virginia.
I, John Brown, my very large army of 21 slaves will seize weapons from the U.S. military.
Hey, you! Stop that! You violated the law!
Oh, good lord! Oh no! My army! It's broken!
You're getting the rope, my friends.
Southerners took Harper's Ferry as a sign that the North wanted to destroy the South, angering them even more. In the campaigning leading up to the election of 1860, Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas met in several debates to try and convince voters to vote for them.
Douglas often liked to travel in his own private train that was fitted with a cannon that would fire whenever he arrived at a new location. Chugga 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 choo choo.
Popular sovereignty is a great idea. The community can decide their own fate. While popular sovereignty is technically illegal due to the Dred Scott decision, slavery is still unable to exist if a community does not pass slave laws.
What? I may be a Democrat, but if Douglas doesn't support slavery, then he's not got my vote!
Popular sovereignty is a terrible idea. A house divided against itself cannot stand. This government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free.
The government cannot endure half slaves and half free? What? The radicals is going to destroy the South if he gets elected.
The debates between Lincoln and Douglas divided the nation and made Southerners wary of Lincoln becoming president. The election of 1860 was between Republican Abraham Lincoln, John Bell, and two other Democrats, Stephen Douglas and John Breckinridge. The leading issue was based on slavery.
Ding dong.
What the? What's this? Who just Lincoln got that one? I didn't even see him on my vote. The government's obviously corrupt and does not have the South in mind. If they won't help us, then we need to succeed from this goddamn country.
After the election of 1860, South Carolina held a convention and was the first state to secede. State by state, individual conventions were held to secede. By February 1861, 7 states had seceded and decided to meet together.
We didn't even cast a single vote for Lincoln. In fact, I don't think he even showed up on the ballot.
Yeah, if none of us voted for Lincoln, then how did he win? Obviously, the federal government doesn't care about us. If the federal government won't support us, then we'll leave.
Lincoln is a radical. He's gonna send armies and seize our slaves and destroy our way of life.
Gentlemen, I see that you have all woken up to the tyranny of the U.S. government. I propose that we band together and make a government that will actually support us. All in favor?
Aye.
We can't just let them leave. We have to do something.
We'll compromise. We'll allow slavery and compensate slave owners.
No way, gentlemen. Slavery will just destroy the Union even more. For now, we have to prepare. War is coming.
South Carolina had seceded, and Fort Sumter was an unfinished and the last U.S. fort in the area, as the South had seized the rest. It was located in Charleston, a major port, and the loss of it would lead to less control over the ocean.
I, President Lincoln, will supply Sumter with troops and ships to strengthen it. If they try to take my fort, then it's war.
Us South Carolinians don't like you. If you're supplying those troops and ships, you're obviously going to try and attack us. If that's the case, then say hello to General Beauregard and his militia.
After the general and his militia arrived, shots were fired and a fight occurred.
Alright.
Major Anderson, surrender the fort or face death.
Fine, you can have the fort, but this means war!
The South has begun to attack. So be it. We will declare war on them, and when it is over, bring together the Union.